Hi everyone, I'm Emily and today we're here at the Creighton School of Business with Cindy Corritore, and today we're going to be talking about Ray Kurzweil's theory on the rate of change of technology from his book The Singularity is Near. So Cindy, could you give us a brief introduction into this theory that Ray Kurzweil has?
Oh sure, I'd love to. It's very interesting. Ray Kurzweil, who's a MIT PhD graduate and has done a lot of visionary work, he's got a theory about the rate of change of human progress, and for our purposes specifically technological advancements that we've come up with as a human society. And his idea is that the rate of change is actually exponential. And as people, we tend to think in more linear terms. He maintains that we actually can't conceptualize exponential growth or exponential rates of change. But we look at it as a linear rate of change. But he says, no, it's exponential. And if you remember an exponential curve, if this is a graph, time versus change, it's very gradual change at first. And then it comes to a curve that change is happening faster, and all of a sudden, as time moves along, the change is happening really super fast. And to illustrate that, there's a story about a fellow that was trying to kill lily pads on his pond by his house. And the lily pads had a history of doubling the number of pads on the lake every few days. And so he started out with 2 or 3 lily pads. And he was trying to decide if he should go on vacation or not, or kill the lily pads before he came, or when he got back, or what. So he decided after about a week he had watched his lily pads, and they were just, there were more, but hardly at all. It was hardly noticeable. So he thought, well, I'll go ahead and go on my vacation and come back, and then I'll kill them. And he went on a 3-week vacation, and he came back, and the whole lake was covered because they were growing exponentially, doubling every 2 or 3 days. And in the last 7 days, the whole lake got covered because the doublings were large. Instead of 500,000 lily pads, the next day you had 1 million. And so that's the characteristic of exponential growth or exponential change. So Ray Kurzweil is saying that we're following this curve and the rate of change, in particular technology, and that things are really going to start changing for us.
So where are we currently on this curve that he talks about?
Well, it's hard to say, but most people would say that we're coming into that curve and probably starting into it already. A good example is the Genome Project. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, we're going to map all the genes on a DNA strand. And they thought that would take 50 years, and it took 15. And so Ray Kurzweil would say, no big surprise, 50 years, if you look at it in an exponential time frame where we're starting to go up the curve of the knee of the curve, that is going to not be 50 years, it's going to be faster. And in fact, he says in the 21st century, instead of seeing 100 years of progress, we'll see 20,000 years because it'll be exponential.
What effect will this rate of change have on large corporations versus smaller businesses?
Well, I think in big corporations it'll probably be pretty disruptive, just because anything can change. And it'll be happening fast. And of course, a big corporation is going to be less agile, less flexible to roll with the changes and keep up with a pace that high. Unless, of course, you've got a corporation that's definitely structuring itself and its culture around change, in which case they have a better chance of surviving. Smaller organizations will probably be more successful with that in the sense that they'll be more flexible. However, they may have less resources to change. So you'll probably see a lot of growth in small things that don't even exist today, small organizations, companies, entrepreneurs, that something comes down the pike and it didn't even exist 5 years ago, and today it can be a multi-millionaire, $1 million company. So you'll probably see those kinds of things, but probably significant changes. And if you're not a person that likes change, this will be a hard time for you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining Cindy and me today, and if you have any questions or comments, visit us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or comment on this blog. Thanks.